Sure.
Yes.
How many of you were there?
About
33
of us, 33 of us, yeah. So this was the first evening on Monday. Was this Sunday? This was Monday.
Monday.
We went out to this little place to eat, and it was built during COVID, and it looks rickety as all get out. But you get there, and they have most delicious food. This was banana with guacamole up on the right, and it was delicious. So I did kind of food first. This is the Maisha Kalas. That's the name of this place. So this is our typical food. I just wanted to do that right at the beginning. The bottom is banana soup. It is not nearly as tasty as one would think.
Right.
It's very bland and kind of bleh. But you got to try it a couple times to see if you missed it on the first one. Maybe it was a bad chef that time.
Yeah.
Up on the right was eggs that were made. Every morning we had a buffet at our hotel, and we had, like most hotels, there was someone who would make your eggs. And on the left was our last night. They brought around a ham, or was that a lamb? Lamb shank, and just peeled it at the table for us.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. Americans are boring, I'm telling you. And we also always had a juice. You can see the juice up there. And the juice is usually like yesterday's fruit, all blended up. And sometimes it had avocado in it. It was really, really tasty, no matter what they put together.
But you got a surprise every time you drank it.
Yes, because you never knew the flavor. Okay, so this is the mornings where we would meet. You want to tell them about that?
Yeah, every morning we would meet and someone in the group would do a devotion to start the day. Maybe it was related to something we did the day before, but of course this one, I think Marty did the first one. He was the leader of the group. And then Pastor did the next morning, which
Bernie did the final
and I did the final one, so I'm kind of bookended. But this was a beautiful place in the doorway of the, well, I guess the hotel, but not where we stayed. This was the eating place.
Yeah, this is where we ate.
served us.
This was the stairway, and over here would be our bus, and then there'd be another bus over here.
Right.
This was the office space, and then to get to our hotel, you would clear down here and around. That's kind of looking out. This is what up there is what you saw when you stood on the porch.
Yes, that's where the buses were parked over there.
So this is people gathering.
But she'll show you later some trails, I guess you would call them, or sidewalks to our little area that we stayed in. It was just interesting how they separated them. Such a, well, there was flowers all along the way, trees. It was just very, very pretty. Yeah.
And then this was the diocese and things about the diocese. Like we have a synod. They have districts or dioceses. And then the one with the red arrow is the one where we were hanging out in the Northwest Diocese. It talks about their history, their vision, their mission, and core values. Their parish members in that diocese is 265,414. So think of Nebraska Synod, maybe a little smaller, with that many Lutherans. That's a lot. I didn't get the numbers to compare because I forgot, but they have 175 parishes, and that's probably more than we have in Nebraska. Central States, I think, is at 140 right now. And many of those are small, rural, like here. There would be many small, rural. And then there's 5. Maybe this is for the whole thing. I thought this was just for the Northwest Diocese. Okay. And then this was the Faraja Primary School. You want to talk about that?
2 years ago when I went, I was very fascinated by this school. And this year it seemed to be more magnificent. They do so much with the kids. You see the bunk beds? That's where they sleep, that's where they stay, that's their room. They have a suitcase with clothes in. And that is all that they have. There are no closets. It's only suitcases for their clothes. But these are all kids who are physically or mentally handicapped. And they go out in the country and find those kids, or somebody reports these kids are there. And they come to this school and they live there. They do their own washing. They help with the cooking. They play games out in the yard. And you would be amazed the kids who have crutches, wheelchairs, they're all out there playing games together. And they make sure that those kids are very self-sufficient. You'd seen their clothes hanging out on the line. They had washed their own clothes, taken care of their own clothes, and would make sure that they took care of everything that they needed. And wonderful music. I don't know if we
Yep,
put a
I
video
did
in,
not, no, we didn't do videos like that.
but the kids in the wheelchairs were dancing, and they
Like
just
they've got their chair up on the back wheel and they're
yeah,
doing
they
the
just
shimmy.
dance
you
all
know.
around. But they are so happy. I can't tell you how happy those people are.
So the one thing we learned was that Mosaic that starts here in Omaha for the world, has partnered with this diocese to find students who are physically and mentally handicapped, because in their culture they would just be hidden in the home.
Right.
They would not be allowed outside the house because it's a shame to the parents. Also, their infrastructure doesn't have sidewalks, it doesn't have roads like we do, they're not all paved well, they're not all, their driving is haphazard compared to us.
Yes.
More like New York City downtown driving, where, lanes are kind of an option, and you pass at your own, like at your own will. You're kind of scared you might make it or not. But, so for them to get around town is really, really hard. And while there is a bus system, it's not consistent as far as I can tell.
No.
So it's not like they could go stand at a bus stop and wait for someone to pick them up. The bus may or may not come that day.
Very haphazard.
Yeah. So this was Faraja. We have one flyer of this, and these are things that we can support as a congregation if we want to. But the Faraja one is a big book. I have all the rest of them, but I don't have Faraja other than the one Sam's in. Okay, so this is one of the ministries we could support. And this is another one of the ministries of Mosaic, where they have, like you see on the bottom right here, children who are physically and mentally challenged, and they stay there and live there. They are building a big church. This is the second half of a parish that has over 3,000 members in the town of, I don't remember either. But they have been building this church. They said it'll take 8 to 10 years, and they're on like year 6. They're splitting because there's too many to have churches, services big enough to accommodate their people. So they have an attendance more than 1,000 every Sunday.
Wouldn't that be an amazing thing if we had that in the United States? We barely put anything in the churches anymore.
And then I think I was thinking of rest, so we're back to the hotel.
This is our hotel, yes.
So Verna and I stayed up on the second story, right behind that palm tree.
Right.
Yeah.
This was our room right up there.
The first one by the palm tree there.
Right.
And then the flowers along the way were just gorgeous. And the bottom one is looking down, but the top one is walking along the path to our hotel. The Aruba Hotel is a ministry of the diocese also, so it is an income generator for them. It is staffed by mainly women. There's a couple of men, but mainly women.
And it's nothing really modern.
Yeah.
We have a little problem with water in our bathroom.
Like the floor was constantly wet. I mean, it just was
We
going.
couldn't quite figure out where it was coming from. We do report it. But I think it was built in the 1980s or 90s.
Oh, see, I was thinking 70s. Okay, so 80s.
Yeah, and so it hasn't been kept up, upgraded. But yet we had places we could plug in our phones.
Yep, we could plug in our phones. We had an air conditioner that worked, thanks be to God. We had a little balcony. Most of the rooms have a little balcony with some chairs on them. You could sit outside. Yeah, it's very nice. It's nothing super fluffy, but it's
Right.
perfectly accommodating. Yeah. So this is the Angaza Women's Training Center. You want to talk about that?
No.
So, the Angaza Center was another one for Mosaic that took care of children. These kids came for the day, they did not. And all of what the diocese trains their women in as teachers is the Montessori pedagogy, so that they can use that out in different schools around. That is the primary teaching mode for up to 6th grade or 5th grade. what we would consider for their 6th grade. They're primary school, and it starts with the preschool kids. So these guys would come and eat, and then they would sit down and take a nap, and then they would be there about 8 to 9 hours a day. Come in on buses, many of them walk. You see flocks of little children who are 5 and under walking down a major highway. There's no sidewalks, there's no, it's just part of their culture, and it's pretty normal.
And you find at these schools, the minute you walk to the doors, their shoes are all lined up. They take their shoes off before they go into the classroom.
Yep, then they don't have to sweep, and all the stuff stays outside,
And they're always welcoming you with a song or some kind of a verse. They always know how to welcome the American people.
Then we went to the High Vocational Center.
Yes. They train these people in so many different ways. You'd be amazed. Sewing, industrial arts, computers, and
furniture making, plumbing, electricity, masonry. They have just about everything. Woodworking, restaurant management.
Yes.
And then they had instrument repair. I couldn't think of the word. Instrument repair.
This is also where the gentleman built organs.
So you see the second picture there, the half and then the full one. That's an organ this guy built. It is completely out of wood, keys to pipes, except for those pipes that you see in front. Those are the only metal pipes. It's the long, the 8 and 10 foot.
And he sat and played it to an amazing song. No music, just sat down and played it. But he also had an organ upstairs that was totally wooden, the pipes and everything that he had built from scratch. They just make use of everything that they have.
And it's very, very beautiful. I mean, the woodworking they did, we saw different, around the diocese, we saw pulpits, we saw altars, we saw furniture that they had made. It was pretty amazing. So this is their secondary school, so kids who are 6th grade and above, and at that time the pedagogy becomes more Eastern or Westernized, where they sit and do books. Early grades are in Swahili, and the older grades are in English. So you get both. So in your primary grades, like K through 5 or 6, English would be like a subject, whereas and then when you get to the secondary level, Swahili becomes a subject rather than the primary mode of communication. So I found that very lovely.
The Montessori schools were able to talk to you in their English language.
Yeah, they could do the rudimentary, hello, how are you? So Houses for Health is the Tanzanian version of Habitat for Humanity. Bob Caseworm. I always get it wrong. I don't want to say worm. Bob Caseworm, who is employed by CHI here in conjunction with Emmanuel Ministries, the association that is the elder care at this point, used to be hospitals. Those two combined to fund Bob's position. They also help support the Houses for Health. So these are little tiny houses that they build in out-of-the-way places for people who need them. They're like a 1, maybe 2-bedroom home with just a living area and a kitchen. Super small, super simple, but they are better than the houses that they've been living in.
I will correct you on the kitchen.
Yes.
The kitchen is the room behind.
Well, in this one.
Yes, in this one.
Yeah.
But they are just such small places. You think, how can they live in that? But it's better than what they were living in.
Yeah, it's not a hut. It's not a thing that can be biodegraded.
I think it's the Grand Island churches.
Yes.
That is support St. Paul's and Grand Island, and Bill Pavlik handing them a quilt. They have built many of the houses or supplied money for the houses. I think at one time, 2 years ago, I was told they were like $3,000 for a house.
Yeah, and it may be on the sheet that says Houses for Health. But Bob Caseworm runs those. These are also things we can support, but we don't do it individually. We always run it through the Senate because sometimes money gets misappropriated if it goes over there, not in the proper channels.
$3,300.
$3,300. So yeah. So it's a lot, but it's not untenable. So.
And the other thing is, the Houses for Health is for people who have a member of the family who has a health problem.
Yes.
Has TB or cancer, some health problem. They help supply the better living conditions for those people.
It's humanitarian. Yeah, thank you for remembering that. There was so much that we learned. And this is week 1, and this is not all the places we visited. Then we went to Machame Teaching Hospital, which is where Bob Caseworm is the CEO.
Yes.
And he talked to us about how USAID would be defunded. The defunding of that would hurt their HIV positive women who are pregnant. He was very, very passionate about his position and how he is teaching the next generations of doctors and nurses. You see pictured here, the women wear the pink, and the men, I don't think we have a guy in here, do we?
No.
No, I'm sorry, we didn't catch one of those. But so the men are becoming doctors or nurses, but mostly doctors, and women can become nurses and doctors, but that's a little less. The gender norms are still pretty rampant, but you can't break them. It's not unusual, it's just not typical.
And the pictures you'll see are people who are supporting those students. They found people that they were personally helping. And I think that is such a good ministry, yeah, I guess you would say, to know that you were helping this particular student. It'd be like helping your own daughter.
Yeah.
But
much less expensive than
yes.
our colleges.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Like $1,500 will get them a year's worth of books and food. I mean, it's stunning the difference.
Right, and they stay there too.
Yes.
It's an actual
They have a boarding house, and they are building another apartment for boarding. So we got to see quite a bit of what they're doing. It's a pretty large campus, but really well taken care of, and the food was okay.
Rice every place you go.
Everywhere we went, they fed us rice and some kind of banana soup.
The people in the middle are a couple from Augustana Lutheran Church here in Omaha.
Karen
and
Stiles, Mark Stiles.
Mark Stein.
And then down here on the right is Bill Palvick from Grand Island, and then Margie and Dennis and Mary Magnus.
Mary Mayfield,
Mary Mayfield.
Magnusons
The Magnusons of
from St. Matthew, and they're doing their program this morning also. They
Yes.
invited us. Said, no, we're doing ours. But
So-
that's amazing that they can support that many children. A lot of it is through churches, their churches' donations, not individual, but the church itself. They support several of the children.
The only ones I knew who were individually were the Stiles, and they are on their 2nd or 3rd student. And then the mission I put up there because I thought that was important to see. We got to go, so the Bishop Shu, who is going to be here, sorry, it's S-H-O-O. Shu is going to be here in the end of May for our Synod Assembly, and I get to go to dinner with him.
Good.
So Mama Shu, his wife, always has a big brouhaha on her on their yard, and
Huge.
It's huge. Like there was probably 75 people there, and you see that lovely thing in the middle there. Do you want to describe that, Herman?
That's the goat. They call it a goat.
Yes, it is what it looks like. It is a shaved goat that has been cooked with a banana leaf sticking out of its mouth. So what is the point?
2 years ago when I went, I was the eldest in the group. I was presented the goat head. This year they didn't do that. It's an honor because they honor older people. You are a person of dignity.
Yes.
Did you bring it home?
No, I didn't.
We have the option to share it with the group.
And I'm BB over there.
Your who?
I'm BB.
Okay.
Because they honor me, always calling me BB. Even the safari drivers, BB.
It's like elder or grandmother, something like that. Yeah.
And I was surprised Nelson at the hotel, when I arrived, he said, oh, BB. I said, wow. He remembered me from 2 years ago. I was amazed.
Yeah. Well, Verna's very distinctive, you know. She stands out. She may be short, but she's got lots of moxie. So, but anyway, so then we also got down on the right coffee. All the coffee comes bound in cloth.
Usually it does, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't ever see it without. The one you had this morning, yeah,
This one's.
it comes like that. And
Well,
so
they use everything. You can use cloth when they make clothes,
yeah,
so.
or table dressing, or yeah, window, you know, whatever. So anyway, this was a big whoop, and then Marty got the Go Fish Year because it's his last year as the leader of our trip. I just thought, and here again, you see we had the soup, and we had papaya, and we had passion fruit, which I have not had since I was in Papua New Guinea 7 years ago, and it was delicious. I ate like 5.
And everybody this year got a certificate.
Yes, we got this certificate. Mine's in my office. I didn't bring it in. Just to say thank you for coming. And then this was the group that night.
There's some people from Mosaic International there also because they happened to be there at the same time. And we got to visit some of the Mosaic places.
There's an intern, Lauren, who is from maybe Colorado, who is doing a year's intern at Mosaic. And so she is helping the bishop. And then the young gentleman, I can't think of his name, from Germany, is also doing an internship with Mosaic. And so they were both there. We met them several times.
Wonderful young people.
Yeah, very lovely people. Learning how to make it all work, because it's just really unique. This was the Agape Junior Lutheran Seminary. I actually should have done my other slideshow because I had it turned around. This is the inside of that church building. I'm going to flip to this so you can see how big and grand it is inside. The one down on the left is the patio going out to part of the schooling and part of the boarding areas. But this is it from the outside. This is what you see when you pull up in the middle of nowhere on a mountainside. It's utterly stunning.
Yes.
And it's like probably 3 to 4 stories high. I mean, it is grand.
And that was provided, the money for that was provided by Sheridan Lutheran in Lincoln. They are still working on building more for
Yes.
them. In fact, they gave Ronnie Green the plans for it.
Yeah.
If you'll notice the tree being planted,
Ronnie and Jane are
Ronnie Green was the CEO of UNL.
He's the chancellor. Yeah, he was
And
the
he
chancellor
retired?
for 12 years or something.
Yes, he was the chancellor of UNL.
And he is going to run this program now, our Vision Trip program for the Nebraska Synod. Wonderful guy, and his wife Jane is also very wonderful. She just won a big award for being an advocate for our agriculture in education.
Right. They were both very strong in agriculture.
Yeah. And they could tell you lots of stuff about what we were seeing, like
Yes.
trees and that kind of thing. But super cool. And then this, down on the bottom right there is everywhere you looked from this place, there were these beautiful overlooks. And we saw so much beautiful countryside. I mean, it's gorgeous. I believe this is a huge mix of first world and primitive. Not even first world, but primitive living. Everybody had a cell phone, but they also walked everywhere. And they used canes and they wore traditional dress. Many of them, like they rode burros instead of getting a car. Yeah.
Conga.
Yeah, the conga. I don't know why. This is the wrong. I got the wrong one. Anyway, this was at. I am sorry, I'm on the wrong side. Up here on the right is the Mi'kmaq Bible College. Their organ was made at the trade school, and I'm sorry, I'm going to flip to my other. I'm sorry, I went to the wrong one. Let me go back. I feel bad because I had better pictures at the end. No, that's where we just were. No, I don't know. Yeah, see this, okay, this is the one I should have been on. So this was back at Agape. This is Agape. And then this is the Mawiki Bible College. And here, we heard the most beautiful, so the organ up there, and I have better pictures if you want to see it, of the organ that was made, and the gentleman who is taking organ studies played it for us. And then we had a small devotion, and then we went out. The campus is beautiful. This was established and is run now. It was the people who are running it now are not established, did not establish it, but there are a couple from Lincoln.
Wayne, Nebraska.
Wayne, Nebraska. Okay.
Bob and Carol, forgot their last name, but yeah,
They are the CEOs, the chancellors.
yeah, they went over to Tanzania and were so enthralled with what they saw over there, they decided they needed this college. And they went over and started it, and it was just awesome. And they are so involved with it, such beautiful people. And this song that the tribe did for us, or the students, I should say, did for us, was their final test for the music, that year. So it's amazing how they work this all together and make sure that they get the right feel for it. But they are so unbelievable.
Yeah, so this class was cultural music and liturgy, something like that. And so there was probably 30 students in this class from all different tribes, and they were dressed in their tribal congas, their tribal colors and patterns. And they came in and did lots of music, but one of them was where they honored each tribe, and then they would tap the next one and sing their songs. But then they did this beautiful, beautiful It Is Well With My Soul that just brought tears to your eyes. Their tenor who sang that song, like Ronnie said, he could easily be a professional musician. His voice is just phenomenal. And I didn't know how to put videos in a PowerPoint, but that was like a 7-minute song, and it just stirred your soul. It was really, really beautiful.
Sing in English?
No, Swahili, but
Yeah.
you knew what it was.
Yeah, by the tune, and you know, if you know the words, there's words that are similar enough that you can follow it. But they did their own hand. All the music, all of the instrumentation was by people. Their harmonicas, drums. There was strings in the corner.
Saxophone player.
Saxophone player. Yeah. So it was just really, really. We were very blessed to be able to be there and witness that. And this feels very secluded. Just outside it, a quarter mile down the road, is the big banana market going on, and you'll see that next week. And it is like crazy, crazy, crazy. I mean, there are tons of bananas being sold up and down the road, and then there's markets up into the hills, and like, it's chaotic and crazy. Like they said, okay, everybody stay right together. We're going to wheel through this crowd and get to this place to buy all the fabric that Mary and Verna could buy, and the rest of us could carry like pack mules. And seriously, I mean, it was like, hold on to your purse. There are pickpockets everywhere. It was wall-to-wall people, wall-to-wall stuff. And then you come into this place that is so peaceful and so just a little oasis. It was really, really cool. So, and we didn't see dorms here, and we didn't eat here. We had a little snack. Everywhere you went, you got a snack. You know, I think Americans are the only ones who don't do hospitality super well.
No, they always had something to drink. Peanuts for sure.
Yes, because peanuts are grown there, and they're little baby peanuts. They're not like our big, hearty Georgia peanuts. They're little tiny peanuts.
They always had something to drink. Yeah, they're just amazing with the hospitality.
Yeah. And peanuts, and what else did we have here? Was it bread?
Might have been, yes,
Yeah.
some kind of
Yeah.
bread.
So, anyway, it was super cool. And faculty had come in and sat at the back of the auditorium, and yeah, it was really. And then I only have one more slide here, because we were going to go on to next week, but this goes back to the Houses for Health. I think you've seen all of these. I'm sorry I have two of them. I sent one to Verna, and I didn't save it well. This was Mama Show's. Yeah, this one's in better order. It goes right through. Anyway, I don't know what I did. But do you have questions or thoughts?
will say thank you to her to do the slideshow, because I have no idea how to do that.
You can tell I'm about that good.
So I just shared some pictures and we did piece it together from that. But,
Were you at the same hotel the whole time?
Oh,
So you
well.
go out and come back, or did you transfer to somewhere else?
This was the first week, and the first week we stayed at the Omaha Hotel, which was the Lutheran hotel.
Right.
So as you can see on the gray sheet, we did Sunday through Friday, Saturday there. And then on Saturday, we went to parish. Vernon and I went to the Monday parish along with Bill and Corey Lineman, who is a Thrivent rep. And the Monday parish is the one that if we wanted to support and partner with the parish, that would be our parish to partner with. And I'll have pictures of that next week as we move into the other week. But they anticipated that we would just be ready to give them money. And Marty said, that's not how this works. So I asked him before we went, which I was really glad, because in the middle of worship, this guy hands me a piece of paper and says, say yes to this. And I was like, what is this? I thought it was a blessing I was going to do. No, it was an agreement. And so I said, your pastor has offered me this wonderful partnership. We need to know you better, as the Trinity is always in relationship. We need to be in better relationships so that we're balanced in what we do. So I'll take this home to my parish and we'll talk about it. Because I was like, I'm not going to say yes. They're building this huge education wing, which they need. But also, I wasn't going to say, oh yeah, we'll give you $10,000 for that. I mean, no. So, so we went to the Monday parish and we stayed there for 2 nights. We were there Saturday night and Sunday night. Then we came back and we had a night back at Omaha. Then we packed up our stuff and we went to Eileen's Treehouse, which is a 3-star place. It was really beautiful. And we were there one night, and then we went to where we're going to talk about next week, the Moramoro crater. And then we went and we packed up there, just were there one night. And then we went out to out on the plains, the last place we stayed. Wendutu, yeah, which was another resort that was a 5-star resort that was absolutely beautiful. Excellent food.
Met you at the door.
Yeah, we had zebras that slept outside our door. It was really fun. And then we did the Serengeti, and we did that for 2 or 3 nights, and then we came back, and then we were at Urugu again, the hotel, the Lutheran hotel, and then we stayed there Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday night. And then we, on Sunday, we went to the Maasai tribe that has converted to Lutheranism. It's a unique blend of, again, the primitive and the first world kind of thing. And at that place, they had dancers that their choir got up and did Maasai dance in the middle of worship, which was really fun. And then I got to help with communion there, and that was a whole trip because they didn't anticipate, they had a special service for us being there. And I don't think they anticipated their own people would show up, and they did. And so they had made 1 tray of communion. Now, anybody know how many's on a tray? 30, right? We had probably 90 to 100 people there. And so they're over in the corner rinsing the cups, like behind the pulpit on the ground, rinsing the cups and refilling them as fast as we can get them.
Oh my word.
It was the most fun, bizarre, really communion moment I've ever been in. So that was fun. And then at the end of that service, they presented us with our own conga, and we had food that day, yeah. So
When we got there in the morning, they fed us.
yes.
And after the service.
And we had breakfast before we left. So we had breakfast, we got there for a snack, had worship, had a meal.
You actually eat goat?
We did eat
What,
goat.
I don't know, what does
It's
goat
delicious.
taste like?
It's greasy and lovely. If it's cooked right. It can be, I would guess, really dry and gross. But the goat, we had a lot like sheep. Like mutton, you can cook it really well and it's delicious, or it's really tough and leathery. Well, all of it we had was really delicious. They knew how to prepare it. I think they wrapped it in leaves is what I think and more or less steamed it rather than grill it like we do.
Mama Shoe also has a little
Shop.
business in the backyard. So we went there one day, and this is one of the things that I bought from Mama Shoe's place.
Yeah, I was gonna bring my stuff.
They do all of this
Yes,
by hand.
they do it by hand.
No kidding. Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Last time I made some pillows out of the one that I bought. Took each animal and made a pillow out of it and gave it to my grandkids. So, my great-grandkids, I should say, not my grandkids. So, I have a project yet to do
There you
this year.
go. Verna's got lots of projects. She and Mary bought more fabric than you can imagine. Mary had to get a second suitcase,
Yeah.
or third, I'm not sure.
Well, when the girls from Tanzania were here last September, Mary gave them a couple of suitcases to take home with them because they had bought too much stuff here in the United States. So in return, she brought those suitcases back home with her. So it was a sharing type of suitcases.
So in order,
Congas.
okay,
And
can you tie it? Yeah.
I don't think I can tie it.
I think it goes something like this.
There we go, yeah.
You do this, and they don't wear anything under them, but they would have another one that went around here underneath.
Like a skirt.
Yeah,
And the men
And
did
they would
the same
cover.
thing, they did the men the same way.
yeah.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
all yours to keep afterwards.
Yeah.
So if your knot comes undone, you're standing there.
Well, they don't tie them so it's gonna come undone. They're very good at this. They've done it for a long time. But they also, I think it covers their breasts when they do their under one. Yeah, and some of them actually wore shirts under. But the one thing about supporting their ministries, these are all ministries we can support. So that would be something to discern and learn about. Pastor Manuel and I have been in texting on WhatsApp, conversing back and forth just a little bit. Then he's not coming, but I think like Bishop Shue is coming. And then we need to figure out how to, like I'll ask him to write a letter to our congregation and I'll write one to theirs. And then maybe we can start a conversation that way. Marty said that you need to have 2 or 3 years of connection before you actually decide to enter into a covenant with people. Because other people other than myself and Verna need to know some of these folks. We had so much fun there. We got to meet children. We got to meet their teacher. We got to spend time at a beautiful, beautiful home, which you'll see next week. You drive up in the middle of this mountain and you're on the most rustic road. You turn and they say, oh, you have to walk down there because it's too steep for the bus to go. And you get to the bottom of this really crickety hill and you look left and there's this house that would fit in Dundee. I mean, it is super, super nice.
But it's next door to a house.
To a shack, yes. 2 little shacks, actually. And they built this for the men to come and hunt and be there once a year so that all the men in the family will gather from around Tanzania in this home. And that's all they use it for. It's 4 incredibly huge bedrooms, each with a private bath. The ones upstairs have balconies off of them. It's stunning.
And well, this one was a family plot.
Yes.
And then in one of the smaller houses was grandma.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was another part of the family.
Where I think
another
the
house.
girls lived
Yes.
with their babies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty
It's
good.
interesting how they blend that all together and make it work.
But if you find an interest, or the congregation, I don't know how to do this part, finds an interest in one of these ministries, we can connect with them and get more information from them in order to grow a relationship so you know what you're supporting. One of the reasons the trust asked me to go was to see about partnering with a congregation or a ministry. And so these ministries are the ones that we thought, well, they were the ones who gave us information.
Yeah.
But also, and then there's Mosaic International that we could partner with, which works with many of these ministries that bring children out of the dark and into the light of day and give them dignity and hope, like the Faraja School. So, all of that. Do you have questions?
you ever have free time where you guys just wandered around by yourself, or was it just that not?
Very little, very little. There was a Saturday afternoon that was free. We usually got like an hour, hour and a half between day activities and evening dinner or whatever we were doing, but we were tired.
Yeah, you had to rest.
We went to, if you look at this, we went to like 3 places a day. And that is a lot to put in your brain. And then we're also driving across terrain in these lovely buses that seated probably 15 to 20. And like they were going in places you wouldn't take your car. And we went across fields. We went back roads that had lots of boats in them.
Built-in bumps.
Yeah, built-in bumps. Like it was like this.
It's like our speed bumps here in Omaha,
Yeah.
they were built in.
Well, that was in town, but out on the rural roads, it was just
Right,
rocks.
yes, that's why I say it's built in.
Yes, okay, all right.
It's original.
Yeah, original to the world. But you know, our bus drivers were all very capable. There was one time I was sure we were not going to make it up a hill, and we just gunned it, and we went, and we got there. When we were going to the houses for help,
Yes.
that was a scary one. But yeah, and then you'd be in the middle of nowhere with people, you know, driving oxen and animals down the road, and then all of a sudden you turn the corner and there's this compound of great industry, and you know, people live there. There's a school there. They have guards everywhere. And I asked, are they worried about crime? And they said, no, they just don't want people to break in. I'm like, okay, is that not considered a crime? Yeah, so I don't know what that was. Maybe keep wild animals out in some places because they were so remote. There would have been whatever wild animals would have been around. Because I mean, elephants and giraffes and things could come closer to town. They don't because you know there's nothing there for them. But I could imagine a tiger here or there, or a cheetah here or there, and you know something like that.
Was it rainy at all? Was it rainy season or just dry?
In one afternoon.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't rain a lot for us. Yeah,
It's not their rainy season.
but it is humid.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
And
humid.
very hot.
Yeah, my hair was like, psh. Yeah, not like Kansas humid where it curls. It was like, psh.
And mine was
Yeah, it was really, really interesting because like in town, and seriously driving was like, I was fascinated by the ability to drive in this place because, you know, typically you have your 2 lanes, one going one way, one going the other, and they have that, but also sometimes there'll be 6 cars across, and the second one here is going this way while this one's going this way.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, they honk at each other, but honking is more of a politeness, not a meanness, not a get out of my way, it's more of a, hey, notice me. And they tell you that, you know.
very few stoplights.
Very few stoplights. They use roundabouts and speed bumps to slow people down, and they're everywhere. And then we got stopped once because we were going a little fast. And the guy was like, he just saw a bunch of white people, and so he stopped us because he thought we had money. That's what our bus driver told us. Yeah. So,
I think the Pastor Emmanuel you're talking about
yes.
was the one at our parish that we went to.
Yes, yeah, Monday.
Yes. So if that's the pastor she's talking about, he wanted to give us a contract.
A contract.
Right away.
Dude,
Yeah.
I could barely say hello.
What about bugs or mosquitoes or anything like cockroaches or?
They had mosquito nets, but we didn't need them. I think when we were out on lawns, I put this stuff on my legs. I brought wipes instead of having to bring a spray. And I put it on my legs so I didn't get chiggers. There were some people who talked about having gotten chiggers. Jesse got chiggers, a couple people did, but it really wasn't bad, no. I mean, it rained the last night, because remember we were supposed to be out on the lawn, and so they cleaned it off before we got there. Some of our chairs were wet. Yeah, so we had intermittent showers, but not a ton. I don't know what else to tell you about that first week. The first week was just a lot of learning. And I'm like, holy cow, we're doing this for 2 weeks, I'm never gonna remember anything. So we kind of did this in order of our days, because that was the easiest way for us to remember. Yeah. Many of these places had trinkets to sell, well, not all the schools, but next week's we'll have like some of the shops we went to. I think I have that Shonga, I have that, and then, yeah, some of those places. And then we always, wherever we stopped to eat, they had wonderful, I mean, all the food was really good. It was just very different. You know, it wasn't, we had chicken everywhere, because that they think of it as a delicacy. They don't eat, I don't know if they eat a lot of chicken, or I think they eat more goat. But again, I'm betting refrigeration is an issue in their homes. You don't have places to keep things cold, you know. Electricity, even out where we stayed at our parish, you pay by you prepay, like you do phones here. You prepay your electricity, and then when it runs out, it's off. So you have to make sure that you keep your card charged, your account charged. So while we were there, they had to pay extra for electricity to have the house we stayed in have electricity. Same with water, filtered water. I was trying to think of what else. The exchange rate, we are very, very much ahead of them. I think it was 500 pesos to $1. Shillings to $1. Yeah. Okay.
And you got this lot of money for $100.
Yeah. And I threw mine away because it tattered, but everything like that you got that was money or important came in what we would consider like brown paper bag, but they were envelopes, and that's the kind of envelopes we had. And mine tattered and fell apart because I carried it everywhere. But
they make, these are usually the kind of bags that they give you, everything.
At grocery stores, at shops.
Different sizes.
Plastic is not a thing.
No. In fact, you
Yes.
don't dare
You don't dare take
plastic
plastic
into the country.
Yeah.
That is a definite no-no, and you can get fined for it. So we have to be really cautious in that respect.
And like water bottles, which they gave us, the hotel gathered those out of our trash cans, and they had big, big, big piles of them in bags, big, big bags that were piled up in one of the closets that I saw. And I asked the lady, she said, oh yeah, we recycle, they send it in a dump. They'll do something with it because they don't let that go to the landfill, they don't let that go into the water supply. And you don't see them along roads, you don't see them, people do not litter with that. They litter paper and all other stuff, but not plastic.
And there's one place that we stopped, which will be on next week, where you saw this big pile
Yes,
of
it
water
showed.
bottles in the back. They made marvelous things out of it.
Yeah.
Wonderful chimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do great things.
Yeah. Because I mean, our need to throw crap away is not okay in the world. And so we're one of the few countries that likes to fill our landfills. And they really did a very nice job. They made pallets out of them, they plastics, and they remelted them and made bottles again. They did all kinds of stuff with them that we heard about.
One thing we don't do over there is drink the water. You will be
They do,
sorry.
we don't.
Yeah.
See, I wish I had a,
Revenge or
Yes.
something?
well, I have a life straw, and I wish I'd have brought it, but I was told, no, don't bring it, but I should have brought it. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But it was lovely, and this first week was so much learning that by Saturday morning, it was like, now what? And they're like, oh, you're going to your parish today. You'll have, I think we went shopping that morning, and then we went.
Went to the parish.
Yeah, so.
And other people went to other ones?
Yes, you can see on the bottom of the page there, I think there's a long section on that gray sheet, right there at the bottom where your fingers are. They tell all the different places people went and who went where. It should be Saturday, yeah.
And most of the, like Mary Mayfield with St. Matthew's, they've been partners with that church probably 15 years.
Yeah,
And they go, someone goes every
every year.
year to make sure that the money that they're they're supporting and that is used the proper way. And,
The St. Matthew's here in Omaha.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
just down the street,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They, yeah, and it seems like if Mary doesn't go, someone else goes from their church just to monitor, so to speak, and find out more of what their needs are. You'd be amazed that the kids go to school in uniforms, and they have to buy those uniforms, and they don't really have that kind of money. So a lot of money is being spent to help the kids with their school uniforms. And those kids cherish those uniforms. Even though they're sweaters and it's 80 degrees out, you see those kids walking down the road with those sweaters on. Because if they lose them, they're in trouble.
Yeah. But also, they felt like 70 and 80 was cold.
Yes.
I mean, we're like, ugh, and they're like, oh, it's chilly, where's your jacket? We're like, no, it's beautiful. They're like, oh, it's cold.
It's like people in Florida that come to
Yes.
Nebraska. Or vice versa.
70, you're freezing here.
But I can't say enough about how welcoming they are,
Yes.
friendly. They are so willing to help you with everything. And like I say, I was treated like a queen at the time because I was BB. But anyway, yeah, it's really.
And there were other women, I remember at the Swahili, or
Oh, yes.
the Maasai parish that we went to, there were some women who were older than her and one who was younger, and they all wanted a picture with her because they couldn't believe that someone their age was traveling, you know. And so that was a really cool moment too. So, and our guides, you want to tell them about that? I have to go up, but our guides, will you tell them about how they honored you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
At the safari guides.
Yes.
They, on our last place that we ate lunch before we came home, one of them caught me in a gift shop, handed me an envelope, and they had all signed it personally. Thank you, Dee Dee, for being with us.
Oh,
And I'll think next week because I cherish it. But yes, all the guides, you had to change trucks every week. I mean, every day.
On the safari.
Yeah, on the safari. One day you would be in one,
So we had 1 through 5.
and then the next day you would change to another, so you got to be with other people, and no other people had to switch around. So every driver knew me by the time it was over. So, yeah, they were honoring me with this special card. So I thought it was, and he did it in secret. He didn't do it in front of the whole group. He made sure he caught me in a gift shop there and gave it to me there. So that was really a nice honor. Yeah. It's an amazing trip. Sometime we need to try it.
So please think about what questions you have about these different ministries, and what you feel called to kind of support. Berna is much better about answering questions about them, but both of us can answer ideas and thoughts if you have some. Let us know your thinking on this, because if we are going to engage this as a ministry, we need people beyond Berna and I to want to do that. So thank you for coming. Next week we'll do the fun week, where we got to go on safari. And
Well, this was fun.
this was fun too, but this was differently fun. This was a lot of learning and a lot of input for us. Berta had been through it before, but I've been on lots of trips with churches. This was the most organized, most well put together, thought through trip I've ever been on.
This was through the Senate?
Yes.
Our Senate?
Yeah,
Great.
Senate
That's
office.
great.
Yeah. Very inexpensive, all for a little over 2.5 weeks, around $5,000.
Wow. Oh,
And
yeah,
that includes
is
your
great.
airfare
Yes.
and almost all your food.
Yes.
The thing is that they do it every year, and they have 20 to 30 people go every year. And that is really a testimony to the buildup of this and how well it's put together. And all the ministries you saw are supported by someone in our synod. which I found phenomenal. And that may just be a pittance support, or it may be like some of these churches that get thousands and thousands every year.
Well, I
But-
think Martin Russell is still over there, and he's been there for
20
15 years, 20 years
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
And he was in the Senate office before he went over there.
And he ran this trip for a bit.
Bob Caseworm, Martin Russell, and Bob and Carol that run the
Yeah.
seminary.
From
They're
Wayne.
all from
From
Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
So
This-
it's really rooted with
Yeah.
Nebraska people over there.
We also have a companion synod in Argentina, and that bishop is going to be here for Synod Assembly also. I was told that we don't do the same connection because they don't need us. But I'm curious to find out if that's really true.
Okay.
Anyway, so Bishop Show will be here. They're not coming to our church, but they have a circuit already set up, and then I got invited with the pastors to go to a meal with them, so I'm excited. So thanks for being here. Same bad time, same bad channel next week. We'll have animals.